Welcome to another calming PC build. This time our budget is about $900, and with this machine you can play any game at 1440p without a problem. So grab a coffee or tea, unless you're actually building this computer, and let's get started. Also, a big thank you to Gamdias that sponsored this entire video. We're going to use some exciting products from them. The CPU I chose is the Ryzen 5 7500F. It's a wonderful budget processor with a stellar upgrade path, and it's about $130 on AliExpress. We're cooling the processor with the Gamdias Boreas M1610, an ARGB cooler with 6 copper heat pipes and a single 120mm fan. It's about $38 on Amazon. Our motherboard is the MSI Pro B650S Wi-Fi. It's a full ATX motherboard, and it has a VRM configuration and VRM cooling that's good enough for Ryzen 7 processors and below. It also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on board, and it's on the AM5 platform, so it'll last you at least 3 more years. About $140. I bought a 32GB DDR5 5600 kit for $90. A 32GB kit with acceptable memory speed is only about $20 more than a 16GB one, so I recommend spending a little extra for double the capacity. I'm using a 2TB NVMe SSD for $95. 1TB also works here, and you can save about $30 if you do so. Make sure it's PCIe Gen 3 or faster. So we have 2 GPU options, and the first one is the Radeon 6700 XT for around $250 secondhand. I have the Power Color Red Devil version, which has phenomenal cooling and fun RGB lighting. The card has 12 gigs of VRAM, and it's a great choice for 1440p gaming. Another option is the RTX 3070. It only has 8 gigs of VRAM, but is about 10% faster than the 6700 XT and goes for about the same price. I bought the Gigabyte Vision model, a more expensive model, for about $277 secondhand. Gamdias sent over the Helios P2 850 watt power supply to power the entire build. 850 watts, gold rated unit, a silent fan mode, and it has the infamous 12-pin RTX GPU cable pre-installed. This unit is about $90, but you can get away with a 650 watt model and it'll work just fine. And lastly, Gamdias sent over the Atlas M1 case. It's a fish tank style computer, at least part of it is, with 3 ARGB fans included and lots of room. Large GPUs and radiators fit just fine without any issues. It also has a cool temperature monitor on the front if you use their Zeus Cast software. It goes for about $90. And then to spruce up the build, I bought some cable extensions for about $20. We're using the 6700 XT in this computer, and I'm going with a red and black theme. Before tax, the total for the entire system without the cable extensions is about $925. You can mix and match different parts to lower the price, of course. For example, a cheaper cooler or case, or a lower wattage power supply, or a smaller SSD would comfortably put this PC under $900. For this build, you would need at least 1 small Phillips head screwdriver, 1 large Phillips head screwdriver, some pliers, and a box cutter or knife. I have an iFixit kit which has everything I need, but even a $10 screwdriver kit from Walmart works. I highly recommend magnetic screwdrivers though. You also want an 8GB flash drive for installing Windows, a large workspace that's not carpet or conductive, and at least 3 hours of time. We're going to start with the motherboard, and there's a few things that you want to take out of the box and save for later. The IO shield, the Wi-Fi antenna, the SSD screw, and some manuals. The first thing we're going to install is the SSD, and it's pretty simple. All you have to do is take off the SSD heatsink, plug it into the motherboard horizontally, and then screw it back in. Another reason why I recommend M.2 SSDs is because they require 0 cables, and that is a big help, trust me. Oh, and don't forget to take off the plastic covering on the heatsink. You will regret it, and admittedly, I almost did forget. So now we're going to install the CPU. And this is pretty simple. All we have to do is lift up the lever on the CPU plate. And we're going to line up the golden triangle on the CPU with the silver triangle on the CPU socket itself. And it should just fall right into place. If you're putting any pressure, then you're doing it incorrectly. Nice. So now we're ready for the CPU cooler. There are a few steps to installing the CPU cooler. It's not difficult, but I recommend following them exactly as they're written in the manual. Oh, and don't forget your thermal paste. I almost did. The CPU cooler actually comes with some, and you just have to apply a pea-sized drop. Don't worry if your brackets say AM3, AM4, it works with AM5 as well. So this is what your CPU cooler should look like before you install it. And don't forget to plug your CPU fan in to the CPU fan header and the RGB 3-pin cable to the JARGB header. Good job. Now we're going to install our RAM. So just unclip the second and fourth slots and then line up the notch in the RAM slots with the notch on the RAM stick. And then you'll push the two ends of the RAM stick at the same time, and you'll end with a very satisfying click. That's how you know that it's installed. Good job so far. So we're going to prepare our case and install the power supply. The power supply itself should come with about 4 hex screws, the power supply, and the power supply cable. Now we want to install the power supply with the fan facing downward so we can pull outside air into the unit for cooling. In general, I recommend testing your components outside of the case, but for the sake of time, I decided to just go with the full installation. So here I'm just adding the cable extensions. These aren't necessary for a build, but they definitely make the build look a lot cleaner. Nice. So with the power supply installed, we are going to install the motherboard. Do not forget your I/O plate. You will be kicking yourself if you do. So once your I/O plate is installed, we're actually going to line up the motherboard with the standoffs in the case. Now this case has standoffs that are labeled M for micro ATX and A for ATX, and we want all the standoffs to be where we see an A for ATX. So right here, I'm unscrewing all the standoffs that are next to an M, and I'm going to set them where I see an A. We're going to need a few extra standoffs from the case baggie of screws. Sometimes it is difficult to screw and unscrew standoffs, and if that's the case, then I recommend just using a set of pliers. Those will get the job done. Once the standoffs are all there, we can put the motherboard on the case and screw it in. Now this is my least favorite part, but it is really important, and it's cable routing. Not only does it serve an aesthetic purpose, but it actually helps with airflow. It's better to just do it as you go. Thankfully, the Atlas M1 has some pretty decent cable routing options, and there's a lot of space in the back, so you can just hide all of your ugly cable options back there. I'm serious when I say that this is my least favorite part because it legitimately takes up most of the build time. But again, it's a necessary evil, and you will be thanking yourself for doing it sooner rather than later. Okay, you're almost done. We only have the video card left, and installation is pretty simple. We want to line up the notch on the video card itself with the notch on the PCIe slot on the motherboard. Before we click the GPU into place, we need to see which I/O brackets we need to remove. This is where the GPU's video out ports like HDMI and DisplayPort show up. On the Atlas M1, it looks like we need to remove the third and fourth I/O bracket from the top.
3 and 4.
After that, I just grabbed some hex screws and screwed the GPU's I/O plate into the case. And then I grabbed the 6+2 pin cables, or the GPU cables, and plugged them into the GPU. Whew, okay, this is the scary part. We're gonna see if the computer actually turns on. Again, I recommend testing components outside of the case just so you can limit troubleshooting, but this is also an option. Oh, and don't forget to plug your HDMI cable into the video card and not the motherboard. That's a rookie mistake. We're going to spam the delete key once we turn it on, and that'll get us into the BIOS. So it's all working. The computer is fully built. I went ahead and installed Windows and optimized some settings in the BIOS just to make sure that everything is running correctly. And after I was sure that everything was running properly, I got the cable combs that came with my cable extensions, and these just help line up the sleeved cables themselves and make things look really pretty and presentable. I totally recommend using them. Oh, and don't forget to install your Wi-Fi antenna. These are really important. Your Wi-Fi will be way slower without them. And that's a wrap. Congratulations, you just built yourself a pretty solid $900 computer that looks good and plays good. But don't just take my word for it. Let's try out some games and see exactly how well this thing does. So I'm not used to the game playing this smoothly because I always play it on budget computers and I always have to use some kind of upscaling, so this is really, really nice. Okay. Ooh. Dang it. Yeah. So best case scenario, 1440p, you're gonna be in the 90s high using quality FSR. And the GPU is really cool. Like, it's being kind of pegged. It's at almost 100%, but it's not even hitting 70. It's doing a great job. Dude, what does that do? Shoo. Gosh, that was cool. hear some guns. I don't know if that was a bot. Dude, I'm loving this sniper. Yeah, I think a lot of these are bots. Yeah. I mean... What the heck is that? Oh, there's someone up there. Nah, I'm done. It was good. FPS is good. This game can play fine. 1440p with mostly high settings. Let's play something else. And that's a wrap for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. You can find all of the links in the description below. A big thank you to GamDS again for sponsoring the entirety of this video. Definitely check out the components that I used in this build. Until next time, peace.